call the meeting to order of the Harwich Cemetery Commission on March 2nd, 2021.
You got to do that little 2-sentence blurb.
Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, General Law 30A, number 18, and the Governor's March 15th order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place. This meeting of the Harwich Cemetery Commission on Tuesday, March 2nd, 2021 at 8 a.m. will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the meetings in real time via technological means. In the event that we were unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on the Town of Harwich website an audio and video recording transcript. Good morning. Did everybody get the meetings from the minute? The minute from the meetings last month?
I didn't get all the way through them, but if you guys approve them, I'll agree with you.
I got through most of it too, so it's pretty much what we discussed. So, do I hear a motion on those?
I make a motion that we accept the minutes.
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Good. It passes. Okay, the email from Wendy Tullock on the accounts.
Yeah, I just put those in the packet each month, just so you guys are aware of our balances, and so is the public. So it's just a regular budget, and we are year-to-date actuals for the administration was $2,041.85, and our available budget was $3,000. So we have like $447 left in that budget. And then we have the tree replacement, which is the $20,000, which we should be looking at soon, what trees we're going to choose to plant in the cemeteries who lost trees for the tornado from town meeting article last year. And then we have the Arboretum software, which is the $30,000, which I did send a message over to Griffin this morning. I mean, the other day. I'm hoping he gets back to me this morning because he wasn't working yesterday when I went up to the town hall to see if he had any updates on that software. I am going before FinCom on Thursday night to talk about the articles, and they asked specifically about the Arboretum software, so I'll try to get an answer before that meeting.
Morning, Ashley.
Good morning.
Morning.
Is there any way to put that budget in so you rotate them so they're not crooked in the computer?
I don't think so. Something like that.
Reading them like this.
Yeah. It makes it tough to read.
That's how they come. I could probably print screen them and turn them. But
I'm just curious, that's all. No big deal.
Right.
And the next one is the Arbornet Accreditation, which I congratulate you on all the work, Robin.
Yeah, well, and everybody, it wasn't just me. So I was very excited that it was finally completed. You know, if it wasn't bad enough, we had the tornado, then we had the pandemic. So it was a lot of things holding us back from completing this accreditation. So I am thrilled that it's gone through, and they did do a nice write-up in the paper, which I was very excited about. So I think I included that in your packet. Did I? Yes. For you guys to read. But again, I thank Conservation Department, of course, AmeriCorps. They did so much of the work in there. And when we do our grand opening, which is different from our tree tour in June, hopefully we can have all the AmeriCorps kids or members who worked on this project be present for that, which will be very exciting.
That would be great.
Awesome.
As soon as I get a date, I will shoot you off, you guys, a couple days, and you guys can confirm. Hopefully, we can do that by the next meeting.
Nice.
Okay. And then we have.
Oh, and I do have to update their page. So I'm allowed to put up a blurb about the Arboretum. So I'm working on that right now, and I'll get back to you guys on that. So it'll go on their page on arbor.net, which links to our town website. And so that way people can find it if they're visiting.
Cool, sounds great. And now we have from Paul Sweetser.
Yeah, so Paul Sweetser did a survey plan. Did I include that in there?
I have I don't have the plan, I don't believe, but I have the
I thought it was in there, but apparently it isn't. So it shows that the neighbors are completely encroaching on the property. I did send that over to Griffin Ryder. He did agree. He is reviewing it. He is going to send a letter to the abutter, and he's going to get back to me. I don't know how long that process is going to take, but hopefully that'll be completed by the next meeting. And at the next meeting, I'll give you an update with that, as well as I have a meeting on Friday with the fence company to go down there and measure out the property for the 2 different types of fences you guys were interested in getting on the property. So that's Friday.
Okay. Should we do a gate or just an opening wide enough to get a mower in?
Jim prefers us just to do an opening rather than a gate. He says the gate can break from going open and close, open and close. So as long as we make enough space for him to get in with the mower, he said that should be fine.
I think it's going to be a minimum of like 4 feet for a mower to get in, so a decent sized mower.
Yeah.
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 Okay, then we have a letter from Empties.
Yeah. So it's in the packet, and I don't know if you guys have read. I mean, I could read it to you. Enclosed, please find a sketch of the plots, 45A, owned by Mr. Alan J. Etsy, and you can see the plot is filled with our loved ones. With this in sight, it is the maximum of 6 burial markers present allowed on the plot. We have come to a new generation, and we having 6 family and relatives to be buried along their parents, grandparents, and the question becomes, how can we put memorial plaques for these individuals? The last burial marker was added in 1993. So the whole letter is in there. So what they're looking for is to add more markers to the lot. And also they're requesting that one of the markers that's on the lot, which is next to the big tree, be moved to a flatter area. And because they don't want the tree removed, because the son of the person who's buried in that lot wants the tree to stay on the lot. So the 3rd page in there, you can see that there's a memorial in the center. It's a large stone. And then you see all the flat flush markers in the diagram, as well as I've included some photos of that. And then, so we have quite a few photos here. So we have 2 photos and then their diagram, which is very accurate. So what they're looking for is how can they memorialize more people in this lot? Because each full body burial lot is entitled to 1 full body burial and a cremation. So they can have up to 6 more cremations in this lot, but they cannot have 6 more flat flush markers in a full body burial space. Because they already one exists. So there is a large memorial. We did go down and look at it. Steve looked at it and Rob looked at it. I don't know if Cindy, if you had time to look at it, but on one side of this big, large, flat stone, on the left-hand side, it's pretty flat. So they could attach a plaque onto there or try to engrave on that side. That is one option they could do. They are military markers that are flat flush markers that exist on most of these graves. in their bronze, they cannot be removed. So once you get a bronze military marker, it has to stay. Normally, they could remove a marker and then do two new, put in a new one with two names on it, but we don't allow them to remove military markers.
No.
So I don't know what the commissions would like to do.
My question came in on, like, the first one, that section says single lot, 30 width, 30 inches wide, left to right, by 16 front to back, and or two flush markers. Does that mean that they can put two markers on each one?
Where are you reading that?
In the Harwich 2016, it says, we get the one we sent to the town meeting.
Okay, so that's
Number 4, markers, headstones, and monuments.
yeah. So that's if it's 16 feet front to back, that's two grave spaces in a
16
single.
inches.
Oh, 16
It
inches.
gives you the size of the headstone.
So if they're considering they're considering it one marker at one, like usually you have an upright headstone and a flat flush marker. If you're going to have it like that, you could have a flat flush marker and then one at the head, one at the foot.
Okay, so the big monument in the middle is considered the big headstone?
That is their upright memorial.
Okay.
And an existing family lot, they're only allowed one flat flush marker. I guess that is confusing, which is something that we should address.
Yeah, we need to make that clearer.
Yeah, I think so.
Robin, where do they normally place a marker if you add a cremation on top of a full body burial?
So
Where do they normally
normally,
put the name?
a lot of people don't have flat flush markers at the grave. Most people just have one upright memorial and they list all the names on there. More and more common, people are getting the flat flush markers at the foot, and those are mostly military,
Right.
because they get those from the VA. So what they did in this case is the mother is in the middle, so they gave her like a duplicate. Wasn't in the military. So the two people to the left and the right have military markers, and then hers is a duplicate bronze that is like that. Normally on the headstone, they would put the other person, and on the footstone, they'd have the veteran.
Right.
But I think more and more people are going to be interested in burying in these cemeteries, so they don't have to buy lots. And we really don't want to have the entire grass gone with all markers covering all of the grave space. And I'm sure that that's not what the original intent of Mr. Etsy planned for his lot. He liked this natural stone. They picked out those exact markers. And I don't know if we should be adding, so if they added, even if we let them add them, we would have to have them add another stone like that in another bronze, because in a family monument, it has to be exactly the same as the ones that were there previous.
Yeah.
They have to match. So then it would be even bigger, because those stones are actually bigger than we allow. We only allow them so many inches by so many feet.
Okay, well, we were there looking at it, and I think the best way is just try to have them put a plaque or engrave the flat side of the big stone in the middle.
Okay.
They could
What
probably do
about,
some kind of engraving like the picture that they sent that shows the placement of them in there. I don't know how to word that for them.
right. And then what about moving the existing, see, they want us to remove, if you see on the second picture that's in the packet, you can see how the stone is being lifted up by the tree there, and that tree is going to continually grow. We can move that memorial to the left, or we could move it next to the stone. See where, do you see what I'm saying?
Shouldn't that marker stay on her gravesite though, instead of being on the guy in the middle?
Yeah.
It should.
Yeah.
So we could move it all the way up parallel with the stone. You know what I'm saying? So it's in the middle of the grave.
Yeah.
Is it possible to cut that section of the root off?
I don't,
Without killing
they
the
don't
tree?
want us to, I think they don't want us to possibly kill the tree. That the
Yeah.
son was adamant. His mother's in that grave.
Yeah.
And if we did that, would be weakening the structure of the tree. So
Yeah.
I don't think that would be a good idea. Plus it would just grow back, Cindy.
Yeah.
That-
Steve, would that kill the tree or no?
It could.
It could hurt the tree, but then it would grow back. If you cut it, it would sprout roots going a bunch of other different directions.
Not a good thing.
It's like a bad haircut.
Okay.
Now, the other thing is, it seems to drop off enough. Is there any way that it could just be lifted and slid forward just off the roots a little bit? And have
It
a
could, but the
foundation?
roots are gonna continue to grow. So, I mean, that tree's pretty healthy. So I think it's gonna keep growing, keep lifting. So I don't know what I mean, we could give them the option. We could ask them what they prefer. They asked if it could be moved to the left on top of grave number, but that's not her grave space.
No, it should stay on her grave space somewhere.
Okay, so we could move it all the way up to the foot of her grave space next to the stone.
Yeah, we can put it there if you just moved it ahead a little bit, so it's not, because it looks like they're gonna put the other cremation, I think we're gonna put the stone in it.
No, they're gonna do it in the middle of the lot. Looks like you're putting them all in the middle. Oh, I don't know. On that one, it's actually down a little bit further, but
They might have done that just because of the writing.
yeah. That's true.
I would give the option, we could center it over it, or depending on where they put the,
I would rather, for mowing purposes, put it next to the big stone rather than putting it in the middle.
Can we table it till I haven't seen it and I haven't seen the paperwork yet. I didn't get a chance to get to that this morning.
Okay. We can table it. It's nothing urgent.
Yeah.
You want
You've
to
seen
do
it too, Rob?
Well, I was just going to say, I mean, that tree is going to keep growing. So if you either do a 10-year fix and level the stone as is, or move it, and then eventually it's probably going to have to get moved anyway. It's an oak. It'll keep going. I've got huge ones in my yard that are old. But maybe we should, table it, put together some options for them,
Okay.
And then see what works best within the regulations.
should we check with the monument place, see what their recommendation might be to help with that? Do we need a motion on that decision?
No, we can just have him swing by. It's not going to cost anything. He'll just tell us what he thinks, what he recommends.
Okay, I mean on tabling this till next meeting?
Oh, yeah.
I'll make a motion that we table it till next meeting so we can.
I'll second it. We all need to go over there again probably if we get some warm weather.
Not today, it's a little chilly outside.
I have to go out there today and I have a funeral. It's going to be a nightmare. Not looking forward to it.
Can we second that?
Yeah, Rob seconded it.
I second it.
Sorry. Thank you.
Okay, and a letter, that was email from Meredith
Yeah,
Ballinger.
yeah. Belanger. So she is in charge of AmeriCorps right now. She's the interim program coordinator. And starting March 1st, Ashley is allowed to come back into the building. Yay. So they were all working remotely and I never saw, I only saw her from a distance at the cemetery, but they're starting to lift stuff, which means COVID's, getting better. So there's light at the end of the tunnel. So I'm excited to have Ashley back in the office. And we are working on several different things. We did get in touch with the USDA And we are allowed to use some of their sketches that are public. Some of their sketches are not public for the tree tag. So we're working on that project, which is a nice indoor thing for Ashley today. She'll be relieved. All righty.
And you did a nice job on the tour the last time too, Ashley.
Yes,
Thank you.
that was nice.
And we have the letter for the VA.
Yep. So me and Rob started, well, I started crafting a letter and then Rob fixed it, as usual.
Nice job, Rob.
And I just want you guys to read this over. I have been in contact with several of the veterans agencies trying to get extra funding for the Veterans Memorial Circle. We want to make it as beautiful as we possibly can. And so we figured we needed to come up with a form letter that I can start sending out to these agencies and that you guys could sign and that we can, you know, request some additional funding. I think it would be great. I think the memorials themselves are going to be substantial next year in price to create. And I think that this way they'll already know about us and know what we're doing. And I think this is a, you know, even if they are unable to support us monetarily, they can support us, you know, with just verbal support or get behind this project. So I think it's very important that we reach out to all these agencies and let them know that what we're doing here in Harwich for our veterans. So did you guys have a chance to look it over or?
Yeah, I read it a couple of times.
Yeah.
It's a pretty decent letter.
Yeah, so I think it just tells about, Rob, do you want to read it in or do you want me to read it in?
Well, the whole thing has to be read? I mean, I thought this was just a draft for us to
Yeah,
work
this is just a draft, yeah.
with. I mean, that's why I had
Okay,
all of the salutations up there just to make sure we get those correct.
Yeah. So what we should probably do is have, you know, Steve and Cindy look over the letter and let me know if you think there is any changes, or Rob, if you, after you read it a couple times, maybe you want to make a couple changes, so that we can start sending this out. I'd like to send it out sooner than later because I'm going to be meeting with I have to meet with FinCom and I'm going to tell them about this on Thursday. And I have to do a podcast on Friday with the library on our upcoming articles for town meeting. And I'd just like to talk about the stuff that we have going on. So this would be one of the things that we're discussing.
Well,
The letter is fine.
yeah, this needs to become, I think, big project, you know, right in the forefront of what we're doing.
Yeah.
You know, that's the momentum behind it. So when you guys are reading this, the stuff that I put in either italics or parentheses, that was just recommendations because I thought Robin and I were just kind of working back and forth online.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was going to be in the package. Otherwise, I would have cleaned it up.
Oh,
Salutations are just, I just started going crazy trying to find all the different ways to properly address potential recipients. And then the one paragraph that I spent a lot of time on because I didn't want to say it inappropriately is the last one. As our memorial progresses, we intend to recognize our sponsors throughout the gardens and along the pathways. If it is at all possible, this is always the tough sentence because I hate asking for money. If it is at all possible, would you please consider a tax-deductible donation to the Harwich Veterans Memorial? I mean, are we going to call it that officially? Is that appropriate to ask? You know, should it just be support in general? I don't know.
you know what? I will ask the town administrator what we should be calling it. And because the checks would actually probably come to the town of Harwich.
Right.
And then in quotes, it would go to the Harwich Veterans Memorial. But I will get a hold of Joe today and I will ask him about that.
Make sure we don't need to have a separate account for
Yeah.
that.
Well, they would just divide it into like a sub-account of the cemetery commissions.
And Robin, when this finally does go out,
Yeah.
of course, we're all going to have to come in and sign it, I think, anyway. But,
Right.
We should attach, some kind of nice depiction of what the final product's going to look like. I mean, it's too early to do, the aerial shot of that one that you had, but along those lines or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll look at getting something for the packet. I'm wondering if Paul normally can put stuff on the plan, and we're dealing with Paul on a couple different things right now. He's believed he started work on the Kelly survey for the Kelly Cemetery. So we'll get back in touch with him. Maybe he can throw that on there for us as well. Or I can ask Griffin if he could. Or even maybe I can work with the water department because I know they have a whole bunch of software that allows that to happen.
Okay, yeah, because it'd be nice to send a picture of what it looks like on our plans anyway, so they know where our ideas are,
Yep.
That'd be a good idea.
So I have been in touch with DAR. That's the next thing in the packet. I've been working with them on a couple different things anyways. They're trying to help me with all the Revolutionary War veterans of our town. And I've spoken to them on the phone several times. So I just wanted to update them where we were with this process, because I haven't talked to them since we had the article approved to move forward for town meeting vote. So I wanted to let them know where it was at and what was going on. And they're going to talk about it at their next board meeting and see if they can get us some funding towards this project. They're very excited about it. So I'm excited that they want to, be involved. And when we have our dedication, they definitely want to be there.
Great.
And then we have your podcast coming up. You touched on that earlier.
Yeah. So she gave me and I put it in here just so you guys know. So Emily Mylan, she works at the Brooks Library, and she is going to be doing it. So she was nice enough to show us, these are the questions they're going to ask, our department's mission and challenges during the pandemic, there was a lot during funerals and stuff. And then how does our department interact with other departments? A brief overview of our annual budget, and ways that residents and voters can be informed or participate within our department. So I will make a list of things. Obviously, people help us in all the cemeteries doing their stone cleaning, or we do talks, or, just helping with anything from coming up. Cindy, I'm sure Cindy does all the flags, her and John, in our cemeteries, which is a huge job. We have a lot of veterans that I found over the last year, which we didn't realize were veterans. We'll be putting up even more flag holders.
That's awesome.
So there'll be even more flags going in. So there's other things. We have gardens, and pretty much the garden clubs helps with the evergreen circle in the old section currently. I'd love to do a garden in Mount Pleasant, beautify that on the golf course side there. So there's just different things that we can get the general public to help us with.
Bless you.
Which would be great. And of course, we have so many volunteers at the Arboretum right now. We have quite a few garden club members who volunteer there, and just regular residents. Some people that work for AmeriCorps in other towns but live in Harwich also help out, and now they're actually employees at other towns, but they also help out. So I'll get a list of all those. I get a very busy afternoon trying to get that together for this podcast coming up. But it just talks about all the stuff that that's coming up for town meeting. I think it's a great way to get the word out of what we're doing here. I think a lot of people just think that we just do burials here, but we do a lot of history that's happening in this town. And I think it's important that we share that with the public.
Definitely.
We get a lot of stuff coming up with the school district, with kids in tours and stuff like that. So hopefully some of the homeschool kids are already doing tours. I have brochures and stuff that we created last year that we send out, and I'm hoping they do stuff for Memorial Day where they have to find a veteran from each war. So, and they can do that at any cemetery. It doesn't have to be for Island Pond. We did write it for Island Pond, but in all of our cemeteries, pretty much we have veterans from almost every war in the different branches. So I think it's a fun learning thing for them, and hopefully they'll participate.
Great.
Now, we have articles for the town meeting, or am I skipping stuff? Probably including the CPC articles.
Yeah, so the two CPC articles that we have are, the one is the Veterans Memorial Circle, which I don't really feel is very controversial, and neither did FinCom. He thinks that that is going to be a very well-supported article with the town people moving forward. The article that he thinks we're going to have issues with is the old Methodist Cemetery, or the Union Cemetery, now that we're calling it. I have been doing extensive research as to when we started taking over the cemeteries, and I've been going through all the Massachusetts acts from the beginning of probably 1900 to present. And I did come across an act yesterday that was passed in 1948. I just want to read it to you, and I think it will address their concerns. An act authorizing the town of Harwich to receive and administer the properties of certain cemetery associations in the said town. Each of the following named cemetery associations is situated in the town of Harwich to be witnessed: the Baptist Cemetery, the Smith Cemetery, the Chase Cemetery, the North Harwich Cemetery, the Kelly Cemetery, the Center Cemetery, the Harding Cemetery, the South Eldridge Cemetery, the Old Methodist Cemetery, the End of Pond Cemetery, which is Island Pond, and the South Harwich Cemetery, or any of them therefore after called associations may by deed duly executed convey and transfer to said town, and to the town do hereby authorize and empower to receive, and thereafter to hold and maintain, but for cemetery purposes only, the subject to rights therefore existing in these burial lots and real personal property of this association not subject to any trust, and thereupon, and upon transfer of this trust, hereafter provides the associations shall be dissolved, and the cemeteries of these associations shall become a public burial ground spaces and cemeteries. And then it says, insofar the authority of this decree of the court in competent jurisdiction in compliance with the terms and conditions of such decree, said the town shall receive from these associations and convey and transfer the administration of all said funds. So this is where we got all their perpetual care money. And their perpetual care for the lots of these cemeteries for these purposes, and the property devised bequeath of these associations under the will of any person living at the time, transferred or conveyed under the wills and deceased of persons shall be not probated. Investments and dividends accrued in these funds and trusts will be transferred to the town. Approved May 3rd, 1948. So I think it's pretty clear that we're supposed to be maintaining and taking over the property from this 1948 transfer. So I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to send this off to FinCom in advance so they could read it before the meeting. So it says that any real and personal property rights acquired by said town from this association under the authority of these acts shall be held and managed by the town in the same manner in which the town or cities are authorized by law to hold and manage property for cemetery purposes, provided that all rights for which the person acquired in the cemetery and association lots shall be remained in force, and acts the sum that such transfer has not occurred. The record of this association shall be delivered to the clerk of said town, and such clerk shall certify this copy. So
That doesn't transfer the ownership, right? Just the care and maintenance?
I believe so. So I'm gonna scan this in. I'm gonna send it to, first the town administrator. Then I'm gonna send it to the Donna, the assessor. So she has it in the assessor's file. So that, because obviously this isn't in the assessor's file now. I was looking them up individually and came across this. I also came across several other acts that were passed after that. We did the Baptist Society of Harwich transferred all their stuff February 9th in 1837. I got an act from 1852, and another one from 1975. That's when we took over the Harwichport one. And 1891 has more about the Kelly Cemetery. So the South Harwich one had another act passed in 1963. The Methodist Society passed another one in 1809. Which was when they started the church. The cemetery was already there, and then the Methodist Church started after. So I'm going to send all these documents over to the town so that they can read them. I'm still only halfway through all of the documents that pertain to cemeteries in Harwich. So I'm going to finish that up maybe today or tomorrow in case I come across any more documents for them to go through.
Can you send them to?
Go ahead.
Could you send them to us too, please?
Yeah, I just think it's important that they think that we just didn't willy-nilly go and choose this cemetery because, for any reason. We're supposed to be maintaining them, and we've been maintaining them for clearly since 1948. So I only thought we were maintaining them for 40 years, but we've been maintaining them for a lot more than 40 years.
So they are also, there's no more grave sites to be sold on those? Are they closed to that?
There is some space, but I don't really feel like it's really a historic cemetery. I just don't think adding modern monuments to that at this point is in the best interest of that cemetery. We do have space right around the corner at Evergreen, and I just don't feel like we should be. I mean, it's up to the commission, but I think it's a nice, beautiful, historic cemetery, and I don't think it should be cluttered up with modern memorials. That's just my opinion, but.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. And the one on Queen Anne Road, that's also just a closed cemetery? Is that full or?
Yeah, so in the middle there, where there is vacant space, is where the original church stood for the Methodist congregation. So it was, there, and then it was moved to where it sits now at this church. So they own those two parcels. So those were both overseen by the same church. Okay?
Sounds good.
I'll keep doing some more research, see what else I come up with. It's pretty interesting.
There's a lot more information on stuff than you think there is.
I know.
And then some CPC and then articles for the town meeting.
Okay, so we have those two articles, and then the only other thing is my budget, which they already cut out the part-time employee again. So I am on vacation. I'm on vacation again from the 13th to the 21st. I still have 5 weeks vacation. Apparently, we're not allowed to roll them over, so I got to talk to Joe about that. But so him or Megan are going to have to go to the funerals because I have no one to cover them. So it probably is more appropriate that Megan goes because although I don't know if they're lifting all the COVID restrictions because I have to oversee and make sure that people are wearing their masks, they are socially distanced, and that only a certain number of people are allowed there. So that has been the biggest, obstacle during this whole COVID epidemic, is overseeing these services where people will show up and not want to wear their masks and not want to socially distance, and trying to give them a little space, but make them aware that they have to follow these guidelines or they'll have to leave the cemetery. So I really think it will have to be Megan and not Joe that oversees that, because, but we'll see. Hopefully nobody will pass away the whole week I'm gone, but I would find that very hard to believe.
Really?
I hope you have fun, so.
I'm sure I will. Gotta go see my dad. I got a lot of stuff going on.
So we have the fence repair to Mount Pleasant?
Yep, so he should be going in there. The ground is kind of a little bit frozen, so I think he was trying to get in there as soon as it thaws, and he thought he was going to get in there this week, but probably not a good day to install a fence today, a little windy. So I'm sure he'll get to it as soon as he can, and I'm sure it'll be done by next meeting.
Robin, where was the damage done?
So it was done. If you drive in there, I mean, don't go in there today because we're having a big funeral. But if you drive in there, you can look. Two of the stockade fence
Sections?
They must have, from winter storms or whatever, when blew and got damaged in between the two posts. You can clearly see it when you drive down.
Yeah, I drove through there, but I didn't notice that there was any damage.
I can meet you down. I can meet you down there if you'd like.
No, I wasn't really looking for it.
Oh, okay.
Because it looks like it's all standing,
Yeah.
But I will take another look.
I think one of the neighbors did prop it up on their side because it was falling into their yard.
That makes sense.
They're the ones who called and put in called the DPW, wanted them to fix it.
Yeah.
So I think they probably just have it propped on their side and we just can't see it.
So is it it's one or two sections that need to be replaced?
It's two separate sections. One's at one neighbor's house and one's a little bit further down at a different neighbor's house. So I don't know if trees hit them because there's a lot of vegetation on the neighbor's side more than on our side. But either way,
they definitely need to be replaced.
Yeah, because the whole end of it broke off of the fence where they attach on either end.
Okay,
So
thank you.
and it's not that much money. I can't remember how much it was, but it was short.
It's $900, right?
Yeah, they got to go out there and dig holes and redo the fencing and stuff like that, and then put in those segments. I don't think it's that much
I
money.
have no
to do all
idea how
that.
much a section of fence costs, so.
A lot more than these.
Yeah.
Lumber is the roof right now, so unfortunately.
Oh, God, I know. Thank you.
Then we get the rules and regulations reviews. Are we better
So
off?
in there, I just wanted to put all three of the rules and regulations in there. I don't think that, I think you guys really need to read them over yourself, highlight ones that you really feel like we probably should use in our rules and regulations. And then I think we should come back next meeting and start discussing them. There's just so many rules. Barnstable has a lot of stuff, and I think they dedicated a whole year to their rules. So, I mean, I think theirs are pretty well written, and
Dennis
they
has some,
have a whole bunch of stuff. We might not want to go into that much of a deep explanation, but I do love their decorative items allowed section. So I don't know if you guys want to go to that. So that's on page 4 of their rules and regulations. So it says no decorative items of any kind are allowed. And it talks about the columbarium or niche. But then they talk about ground level cemetery flower planters are permitted only from April 15th to October 15th. Flowers in heavy movable planters with a maximum of 12 inches. So they go into specific things, and then about natural reefs. They don't want artificial flowers. Can be there if they're properly secured, but only through November to April. I don't even know that we should allow artificial flowers. And the only reason I say this is because a lot of them come with berries, and the birds eat them, and then the birds get sick and they can die from them. So I'm concerned about the wildlife in the cemetery. I mean, there's so many options. We do allow people to do plantings and plant flowers, that I really feel like it's not needed. I think if we didn't allow them to do plantings of flowers, I think it might be, but you guys should read over the rules and look at the stuff that you think you want. They do have that funeral. We tried to pass this last year and we got a lot of kickback. Funeral floral arrangements shall be removed by cemetery staff 7 days following their placement. They're usually dead, especially if somebody gets buried in July and you place the flowers on the grave. Within 7 days, they are completely dead. They might be dead in 2 days. But we get a lot of pushback from people, especially, don't you remember, Cindy? A lot of people were upset about that.
Yeah.
And we wanted to remove the flowers. So, I mean, as soon as they become, dead or I mean, some of the families want us to remove them at that point.
Right.
So
Can I throw something out here?
yeah.
Go ahead. So just in my research this week, I mean, just pulling up various towns and then trying to compare it with the state rule. This is going to be a big discussion, and it is going to be so awkward doing this on Zoom or GoToMeeting or wherever we are today, that we need to be able to sit down in a room and talk. We need to have them all out there. Let's look at this paragraph on Chatham's. Let's look at this paragraph on Barnstable. And
Idea.
Right.
it's just, I mean, just trying to get a word in, it's just hard, and there's only 5 of us. So
We don't build all those conference rooms there because the tables are big enough. We'd be spread out.
yeah. And if we all have copies, we can sit there with a highlighter and go, this is really good. I like this. I think this will float. And then we can condense it down and then resume a public meeting so that we can get input, flack, approval, whatever everybody wants to do.
That may be more productive.
I agree. And I think that's a good way to put it on next year's town meeting. So we have a full year to really do a nice deep dive and try to figure out what you guys want to include and what you think we don't need to include in these rules and regulations. And I think in informing the public and getting some feedback from them in advance, I think would be great.
The biggest challenge is
The
going to
other
be
towns write this stuff better than we, and they say the same thing, but it's written nicer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, Cindy, you were going to say something?
I'm sorry. I was going to say the existing things are going to be the problem, like the memorials for kids with the, the soccer balls and the, different things that are already there, the statues, et cetera. That's going to be a problem, but we'll work it out.
It's going to be an easy road, but it probably needs to get done. A thorough review.
Yeah. And I, some people put stuffed animals. I really don't think, after the first time it rains, they just horrible, and then they break apart and stuff's there, and people put glass vases and then they break when a more rock hits them, and then we have glass in the cemetery.
Yeah.
There's just some things that should be understood, I think, but we need to make them clearer for the public.
And then for the decoration stuff, give them a time frame of when we allow that kind of decoration or something.
Yeah,
Again, this is all
I
stuff
agree.
that we can, digest and document when we can all get together. But that conference room idea would be great. So, I mean, we could start this. That room is huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can just get it reserved.
So, and the
bits
other thing
pieces,
is,
not a 5-hour meeting,
I think
let's meet for an hour, break it off, think about it for a week, come back and do it again.
so I think if we took walks in the cemetery and took some photographs so that you guys really know what people are doing on their lots, I think that makes it easier for you to try to figure out what's going on. And if some of the things already going on is so people have fencing up, there's no fencing allowed. I keep telling them they can't put up fencing, so I'm gonna have to start writing them letters. There is no fencing allowed, so you can't put up fence on your lot. So we need to come up with something.
Right, and I think I would like to see our overall tone be compassion initially, but then eventually, we have to standardize, and there should be a period of time. Okay, fine, but we need to get this fixed. We're sorry for your loss and what you're going through, but we need to clean this up or whatever. So.
And ours should be similar to the other towns around too, so not two different things going on each town over, a whole different set of rules. You can sort of kind of meld them together a little bit.
I think we can do this if we can all sit around and go, all right, let's compare this topic, lop that off, or consolidate it for our purposes. Yeah, we can do this.
Okay.
Good idea.
Do you want to check in, Rob, and get a room somewhere?
See, like we're doing right now. It's so awkward doing this Zoom thing.
So, do you want to do that before our next meeting? Or do you want to do that?
Well, Robin, can you find out how accessible that, maybe Patty can set that up for us, or Patty, right, in the office?
Okay.
Whether we can get a room, or, it doesn't have to be at town hall. It could be.
No, we can do it here at the community.
Right, and that would be convenient.
community
because
center,
all your
this-
stuff is there.
Yep.
If we needed something.
All right. All righty. Okay, and then, so,
Update on the Bank Street Cemetery? We already covered that.
yeah, so this is where I put all the Bank Street Cemetery information, I'm sorry. So as you can see, the diagram is in the packet,
Yep.
and you can see clearly where the fence, where the hedge is on our property. It's almost completely
Completely.
the entire hedge on our property. So,
I was surprised that front corner is about a foot off his paved driveway.
Oh,
yeah,
It's like right there.
yeah. So, so I will be meeting them. I do have, and I'm glad he put the initials on this, of the stone in the middle of the lot. So it's CAB. So that's going to give me a reference to go to. I am going to pull all the deeds to the 3 surrounding homes and figure out who our person is buried at the cemetery. So we can have more information about him rather than just CAB.
Okay, is Paul Sweets going to write the guy a letter about his shrubs being on our property?
No, Paul is not. Griffin Ryder is. Griffin,
Okay.
who is our town engineer.
Okay.
So he'll be writing it. And I talked to Joe Powers, our town administrator, and he said the letter should come from someone from the town, not from Paul. But I emailed him, as you can see, and he says, yes, I took a quick look at this plan and the hedge is clearly over our property line. How do you want to proceed? So I did contact him, and we are going to be proceeding with this.
Are we asking them to remove the hedge, or are we going to do it? as opposed to a backhoe that comes in and rips this thing out, or the town does it carefully just in case?
Well,
You see where I'm going with that?
I don't know. I'll have to talk to Griffin about that, but we can ask them if they'll remove it.
If you want to save it, otherwise, I think it's a yew type of a shrub, so I don't think they will tolerate transplanting all that great.
Right. Oh, no, I didn't mean for the shrub's sake. I meant for what may be around the shrub.
Oh,
I'd hate to see, this
poor person.
pick your emotion and here comes the backhoe to yank it out.
Yeah.
I just, again, new guy question. Sorry.
Yeah. So I will ask Griffin about that. This is the first time we've had to deal with this. And I know it's their shrub, but it's on our property. So we'll have to see what he recommends or what the town administrator recommends for us to do. And I'll get that in writing before we proceed and do anything.
Right. Sounds good.
And I'll also let you guys know before we do anything. And make sure the neighbor is well aware of what's going to happen before. I know part of his pavement might be on our property as well, his driveway. I don't know what. Yeah, it's very close. So we'll have to see what Griffin says about that as well.
Okay. And do we have bills and stuff like that?
We do have bills. I didn't have enough time to get them ready. What I'll do is I will scan them in. They're not that much. We have one bill, which was my MMA conference, which this year was online, and which was great. I got to do a whole bunch of different things. It's $105. My mileage for the month of February is $28. And then the Eversource bill is $6. So those are the three bills. I can scan them in a little while and send them off to you. If you guys get a chance today. If not, I'll just put them on. If you get to them by the end of the week, I'll just put them on next week's warrant. It doesn't, those three things aren't that critical. So it's not that much of a rush. But I will scan them in. I will send them to you and I will wait for your response for me to put them in for payment.
Okay, and how did you make out with the surveyor up at Island Pond we talked about yesterday?
So I met with Amy Uzowski last week down at Island Pond Cemetery, and we talked about getting the pump placed back in the lily pond. So I met with Richard Berube and Jim Stratton, who's our foreman, to go over what we needed to do. And there is so much stuff that's settled to the bottom of that pond. We really need to dredge a little section in there in order to get the pump back in there so that we can get the pump working. I also wanted to transplant some of the button bush, which is now completely taking over the entire pond and really probably draining it of all of its water because it's, soaking it up. We are doing that walkway that connects the cemetery from where the hour lot is by the new dirt parking area. If you go in the cemetery on the left, down to the conservation walking trails, which is also wetland. So if we were to transplant some of the button bush, which is a beautiful natural hedge over to that section. So both things needed wetland delineations. I talked to Amy Uzowski about that. She gave me a couple contacts. Well, all the people I contacted from her were completely booked out. I called Paul Sweetser and said, do you know anyone who does wetland delineation? He gave me the number to this guy, Paul Shea, who was working in the area and said he could do it right away. And it would be $775. So I called Steve yesterday and let him know. And he thought that we should move forward with it. I'm letting you guys know we cannot file for the permitting from the Conservation Trust without this. So they need the wetland delineation in order to move forward for their meeting. So it was $775. And I just want to make sure the whole board is aware of that. And if you have any questions. Anybody?
Do we need to make a motion on that or vote on it or anything? Or no?
I don't know. Do you think we should make a motion on that, just to have it in the record?
You can, although it's all done anyway, isn't it?
Yeah, he already went out there. He already went out because he was here. If not, we had to wait another month and a half, and I really want it to be able to be dredged and the pump put in before our grand opening or our tour. So
Right.
it's really important that we move forward, at least getting that lily pond cleaned up. We also, there's a lot of invasive species around the pond. There's like that raspberry bush. There's, what else, Ashley, is around the, do you remember what was around? Was there Japanese knotweed in there as well? I can't remember. Around the lily pond?
There's buttonbush.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about the invasives that we were going to remove on the sides there. Anyways,
bittersweet.
bittersweet, yeah, bittersweet, that's what it is. So I want to have AmeriCorps go in, or me and Ashley and maybe just Amy and Caroline, and remove all of that invasive so you can see the pond, because it's starting to climb up those trees now, and we do not want that. So both of those things couldn't move forward to the Conservation Trust for removal in the wetlands without this delineation thing, so.
So the delineation is just showing where that is, right?
Where the
They're not actually
wetlands go
removing it.
to. Yeah, so that we can then, I went down yesterday, photographed all the tagging, so I can bring that
Yeah.
forward to the conservation meeting
Okay.
and let them know what we're interested in doing. Amy suggested that we move some of the button bush, and that's the
Right.
only reason why I'm suggesting it now. She thought it would be a good idea to put something more low growing there that are next to the graves so that they do not block out that whole view there. She said
Yeah.
we could request that we do some vista pruning where we prune it down lower. But we'll have to see what the Conservation Trust comes back and allows us to do there.
Can Rob and I just say today that we agree with you, that without doing actually doing a motion or anything?
Sure.
I agree.
I agree with, I think you did the right thing. Okay.
Thanks.
All right.
Date for our next meeting?
What
The 6th?
is it, the 6th?
Yep.
So that works for everyone, because I like to put it in right and request the stuff from town hall as soon as we all agree that that works for everybody.
Okay.
So if we have to have another meeting, we'll have to figure out what date that will be. I'm going to be on vacation for a week, and then we have a lot of stuff to get ready for town meeting. I wouldn't mind meeting twice in April if we could, because May we have town meeting. So I think just to go over, stuff that is going to be at town meeting is important. So we can pick another date at another time.
6th. Yeah.
Okay.
You can pick it on the April meeting and see if you want to do it in the 20th or 27th before the meeting.
Okay.
Is the meeting going to be a
I think
virtual
that would
thing like this?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, why don't we just make it 2 weeks after?
Okay, make it the 20th.
I think that might be April vacation week. So I don't know how available I will.
It's my
I don't
first
know.
month of retirement. I'm free, so.
I have an 11-year-old, so it's
You
tough
want to
for
do it
me.
the 27th then? The first and last Tuesday of the month?
Okay. April 27th, does that work for everyone?
If that gives you enough time for May.
I think so.
All righty.
Okay, is there any other new business, old business?
I had one question that I don't know if it would be new business or not. For the Arboretum, are we going to have a sign near the Island Pond entrance in the rock?
Yeah, we need to move forward with a sign soon. So I'm going to have the DPW just put right now a street sign at the end of Island Pond Road that says Marceline Arboretum, one of the green ones. You know what I'm talking about? And then we need to design a sign for the Marceline Arboretum. And we also need an Island Pond Cemetery sign. So I don't know if you want to just do that in one sign. Maybe we should put that on the agenda for the next meeting.
Yeah.
You want that on the agenda?
Definitely.
I mean, I like to standardize it the way we have all the other cemetery signs that have recently gone up, the green and the white.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a little bit bigger than that because it's going to have a lot of
like
stuff.
a two poster, maybe over the rock. That
I
says,
think that would, yeah, that might be great.
Similar style, but it's gonna have to be bigger.
Yeah.
it gives you room. Yeah.
Robin, speaking of signs, is the East Harwich Methodist Church going to say Methodist Church Cemetery on it?
I think it's going to
It's
say
not gonna
the
say-
union.
It shouldn't.
So we
I don't think
already,
it should.
we already agreed and the church asked for that.
I can't believe they did because it's always been the East Harwich Methodist Cemetery.
And so all their paperwork that they've sent to me has all said Union Cemetery.
Wow.
So
I'll see then.
their historian told us it was the Union Cemetery.
Oh, Carl?
Yeah, and I
Oh,
talked
yeah.
to Don
Carl's
Howell,
gonna get a phone call, isn't he?
and so didn't Don Howell agree that it's been the Union Cemetery.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was the Methodist Church, and I don't know if it'll always be a Methodist church.
Yeah.
You think it will always be Methodist?
Yeah.
Okay.
But no, do whatever they suggested.
Yeah.
Do it. Thank you.
Hopefully that one will be done soon.
Yeah. That's great.
All right, so anything else for the next meeting?
Sign, maybe by then we can have, a room lined up, we can go over rules and regulations.
Okay. I'll look
We
at
can start this process.
dates and maybe I'll bring that forward at the next meeting and everyone can have their calendars and then we can pick one.
Well, see, I would think that if we're having our discussions before we want to present things, I think we could just meet. I mean, it's us.
We can't.
But we're not deciding anything. We're just trying to go through pages and pages of rules to condense it.
I will have to ask, but I think if we're all together, it's considered a quorum. And I think once it's considered a quorum, we have to schedule it as a meeting.
It's like if, Rob, if you and I went out to a cemetery and discussing something, we'd have to call a meeting because the two of us is a quorum.
Yeah. So so if we're gonna do that, we have to publish it. We don't want to be seen as doing something.
Oh, okay. So when we were together, three of us went on the tour, the cemetery tour, that was okay. Because that was a tour.
Out of the meeting.
I actually posted that in the meeting.
Okay.
It was posted in the original meeting.
I didn't want to get caught.
Right.
Well, not them getting caught, but I just wanted to
No,
make sure
I know what you mean.
knew that it was scheduled, and I amended our meeting to reflect that you guys were going on a tour.
Good deal.
Okay, hearing no other business, I could hear a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
All approved.
Aye.
We close the meeting 9:08. Thank you, guys.
Awesome.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.